Welcome to Enlivened Earth, Deep Ecological Activism. Today I'm going to explore how deep listening and being there in the moment and being with whatever arises extends to us through nature, our more than human family, and how that connects us to all life. Welcome back to another episode of Enlivened Earth, Deep Ecological Activism. As in the previous sessions, I can invite to notice once again what is around me and see the colors, the textures, and the connection to life that expands and holds the space around me. This might be pictures of nature on the wall. This might be appearing into nature or the more than human world outside the window. Or maybe when you're listening to this, you're actually walking and feeling and touching and sensing into nature. This episode will be about listening and making space for a broader story and a deeper acknowledgement of our belonging to take hold within ourselves and those around us. Wherever you are, just take a moment to dwell in the things that bring you joy and gratitude, the resources that you have with you right now. It might be the plants, the trees, the air that you breathe in and out. It might be the beating of your own heart. It might be the time that you have to listen to this podcast. It might be the family that you were born into, and it might be the family that extends into the future through you. Whatever the resources are, let them appear in front of you. Just acknowledge the people, the places, the beings that nourish you. As I'm recording this, I'm warmly nestled in front of my fireplace in the cold and colorful forests of Norway, where I'm living in my tiny home that has been a gift to me and a community of people around me that support me and acknowledge me for whom I am and give me the space to explore myself and the world around me. When it comes to presence, listening, and being available for the world, it helps to understand the broader context of our belonging. We as humans, and I proudly call myself one of the humans on this planet, have been raised through a process that extends into the past many thousands and billions of years. A process fueled by air, oxygen, and water, and fire, and earth. Of elements coming together to work and to combine themselves into each other through long stretches of time, to cells and organs forming in collaboration with each other. So I could say that the deep listening to each other and the deep commitment to one another in this web of life started long ago, a past stretching far and wide with struggles, upheavals, pleasantries, and always a deep commitment to work together, to sustain, and to bring forth more life. When the first single-celled organisms started to work together and incorporate themselves into each other to form more complex systems, a reaction started that in the end would result in our human experience, our becoming human. But are we really human? Or are we the dream of the earth and the world listening to itself, experiencing itself? Human society is deeply nested in the more than human world, and when I walk out into the woods, I can feel that there is a presence and awareness of not just me noticing the more than human world, but there is this calmness and balance that allows me to be exactly how I am and where I'm going. Stepping out into the woods reminds me of becoming a child once again. The adults turning into trees, into rivers, streams, turning into the insects, the animals, and the life around me, observing me and allowing me hopefully to flourish in their deep listening and deep embrace. They're not here to tell me how to change myself or to be different than what I exactly am right now. They allow me to be wherever I am, and they acknowledge me in silence. They acknowledge and watch and take care of me by supplying me with the food that I eat, the air that I breathe, and the adventure of a lifetime. All of this happening without judgment, without hatred, without greed, without me having to look up to them, and without me having to look down on nature. My more than human relatives are supporting me in so many ways that I might have forgotten with all the struggles and troubles that face me on a day-to-day basis, both the inner struggles and the struggles with relationship. So I remind myself to be more like the trees, to see the youth and the joy and the capacity to love in every one of us, not just myself, but all those around me. And I make space for those that I share this planet time with. I see them with the eyes of trees, the ears of the squirrel jumping from gap to gap effortlessly, the bison feasting on the grass, resting in its weight and wisdom. I see them as the wolf, sneaking around, peering into this creature on two legs, respectfully wandering around and bringing balance to the elements of surrounding life. There is beauty, there is terror, there is good, there is bad. These are human definitions. When the wolf takes a meal, it is there to create a balance, and it is as if the wolf knows that this balance will be given back and restored and helped in creating its own commitment and belonging to the natural system. Again, there is no judgment. I walk in the woods, I breathe the air, everything flows effortlessly in and out of me as a present, as a gift of kinship, a gift of community, a gift of life. Everything is there just for me, just as parents are there for their children. And even though children are starting to develop, and it might be difficult at times to find one's place in the world and to struggle or rebel against the wiser elder beings. After a while, by being noticed and by giving the space to develop oneself, one sees that this silence, this caring, and this acknowledgement and trust allows for oneself to become the person one always was meant to be. So this is an invitation to once again allow the more than human beings to be our teachers, our wisdom keepers, our relatives, and to acknowledge their belonging, embeddedness, and their role in raising us together as a human society. They share their gifts with us, and they, by the virtue of just being with us and comforting us, allow us to flourish. And even through challenges and hardships and feelings of aloneness, they allow us to become who we are really meant to be. A family of belonging and reciprocity. If you have a pet, or cat, it might be easier to connect and bond with this being. They often are our direct connection to the wider sweetness of wildness. Almost as an intruder into our lives, we hold on to our pets and beings that we invite into our homes. But at the same time, it is so important to extend that greeting and invitation to other beings as well. One could say that the trees have eyes, but the eyes also have trees. We are so deeply rooted and connected in our togetherness, in being born and developing on this planet. Some people might look to the stars for answers, but I choose to look and feel the immanent flesh and not jump over any boundaries and build relation with that is closest, that is dearest and nearest to me, step by step, expanding into wider and wider circles of reciprocity. Arne Næss, the Norwegian philosopher, put this in a certain description and experience of the ecological self, starting not just with the ego of the humans, but developing further into the social self, and we move on into the metaphysical self, or the self that experiences itself in relationship to the world, and the wider self, the ecological self, that knows deeply and feels deeply and is moved deeply by its embeddedness in nature. For me, this connection is the higher self. The knowing that my wider family of more than human beings is here to support me and to strengthen me and to gift me with, if just presence, on my path of finding belonging on a planet moving with 300 kilometers a minute through space, where we're hanging on to an immensity of a journey, always steeped in uncertainty, not knowing where we're going, and holding space and listening deeply to each other. So by listening deeply with gratitude and acknowledgement that we are all on our way to ripen into a maturity, no matter how big the differences seem at times, we allow space to guide us, and we allow the space of not knowing and the presence and the deep commitment to supporting others on their path, even though it might not seem like our own. I let that invitation more and more every day run from the trees, the forests, the animals, that deep, loving kindness, that deep, loving hope, and loving knowing that guides parents to allow their children to flourish. I let that run through me, through the forests, the waters, the streams, the oceans. That just being here and allowing the world to evolve just as it is. It helps me take decisions that are not based on small wants to change the world or to make it better, but just allowing the space for things to grow, not walling in other people, communities, not walling in myself, but allowing things to flourish with my full attention, not pushing, not pulling, but giving and giving and giving all my love and action and time to restoring and to supporting the web of life. The trees till the soil, working closely with the mushrooms and the mycelium under earth. They support us in the air that we breathe and the balance of oxygen, just the right amount so that we can flourish. When I take that feeling of breath and deep receiving of that gift that the trees give me, and I expand it into all the gifts that I can give to this human and more than human world in return, I open up to the deep possibilities and connections and strengths and also my weaknesses. And I become responsible, able to respond to the world in a wider context, able to contribute and breathe life into a living earth, a earth that is coming together to awaken to an aliveness once again. And as with life, in general, my own life, there have been struggles, there have been horrors, challenges. That's part of becoming truly human. That's part of becoming truly ecologically oneself. It's in facing the challenges and being able to still stand here. And I'm sure that we all have faced our demons and our deep canyons of disconnect and darkness. But still we are here. Still we are here being held by the living earth. Still we keep on going, as if there is some primordial will that knows that we belong and we are here to serve and acknowledge our deep connection. I'm acknowledging it well that I'm able to reflect on this, living in the middle of the woods, and that many of us on this planet are and might feel a tightness of our way or feeling held in the structures of cities where high rises and corners cover our line of sight and might be numbing our feeling of the reach of nature. To that I can totally agree. Sometimes a city or a human landscape can feel quite confusing. But I remember a journey and a vision quest I took last year where I spent 4 and 5 days fasting in nature. I was quite eager then, and I wanted to return to the city as soon as I was finished. Coming back to the city, I noticed a deep gratitude well in me, even though I was in the midst of cars, bustling city streets, and just patches of nature here and there. I felt a deep belonging and a deep wonder. For after 4 days, sitting on a rock, and a night spent looking at the stars and the dark figures moving in all directions, and with a sense of fear and hunger that I, even without protection, survived until the next day. I was, in a way, becoming more than human myself. When I returned to the city, I looked with gratitude at all the beings. With calmness, I studied their ways. With love, I saw their movement and I saw their struggles. And I knew they were all part of me, part of this great big family that I, after a couple of days in the wild, already had gotten a taste from. So it is easy to get or seem lost, but it's important to know that we have a choice to switch and to see the wonder, the beauty, even in the most scariest of places, the darkest of streets, or in the sadness, or the terror, or the pain of even the most scariest of people and beings. So even though there might just be a tree in the asphalt landscape where I daily spend my time, I can choose to go there to receive the wisdom of this being, to see with its eyes, and to take that feeling with me day by day and with every step that I walk. I can become the leaves and twigs of the tree that I might find in this desolate of a city, and I can become its expanded awareness. I can take that with me, savor it, and live as the tree, as part of the city, acknowledging my own self, my pain, and my own shortcomings, just as much as I can acknowledge my belonging and my care and my wish for a more beautiful world. And I can experience the deep presence and the deep knowing, the knowing lovingness of the tree that runs through me patiently, silently, always there, only to be thought away. I can feel the tree extending through my fingers, through my legs, walking through me with care, attention, and calm being. I can feel the wisdom of the owl and the soft prowl of the tiger. I can feel the air softly blowing me and nourishing me into the direction of my life purpose, a life purpose of connection in my own way, nourished by so many facets of my human, more than human world. And I can, as a tree's branch, extend my greeting to other humans and other beings as well, extending my greeting through a warm handshake, a soft gaze in the eyes. I can extend my greeting from the tree and the branch to the way that I walk, the way I talk, the way I spend my energy, the way I choose to treat myself, the way I choose to treat others. And slowly, step by step, I become wiser, more patient, more open. I open to my fears. I feel the comfort of being held as I take a deeper and wider approach and open to find other trees and other beings also embedded in the faces that I see around me. Noticing the tree in me and those tree fingers in you, those textures, the differences, the precision, the story of how we all developed and became. Every groove, every sprinkle, every part of personality. And I find trees and beings all around me, ready to be acknowledged, ready to be listened to, and ready to feel the presence and committed love of another so that they also can connect and let their inner true nature shine and develop. So, these were some reflections on becoming and living part of my whole more than human family, and to let that wildness and peace and knowledge of being held run through me and extend into the life rivers that flow even through the most dense of human settlements. To allow myself to look into places where I might be afraid, I might be scared, if those places are outside of me or inside of me. And I allow myself to be moved and to extend into these places as well, knowing that all of life is even contained in the most darkest of places and the scariest of times, and a potency for beauty to emerge is found around every corner, and in every step I take. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring more of our connectedness to the natural world today. If you would like to strike up a conversation with me, tree to tree, or if you would like to add something to the podcast, or even might find questions or critique, you're welcome to reach out to me at martin@enliven.earth or visit my homepage, enliven.earth. I wish you a really wonderful day and hope that I could contribute something to your life today that allows you to enjoy and become and be the way you are just now. I hope you'll join me for another episode soon. Thank you for listening.